Hello, my brothers and sisters in the Lord. This is Mum of Many. Please don't forget to click the like button, click subscribe, and let's get into this. Oh, and drop your comments below. Interested to know your thoughts. Now, I've got a little group going where, a little chat group going where we discuss, all sorts of topics, news, and, maybe any issues that we can share, and we edify each other and all the rest of that good stuff. And for a while now, it's been lots of issues going on. Various people have things that, they're going through, and all that sort of stuff. Cool. But it had me thinking. A brother in the Lord, in a few weeks ago, had written a gratitude list, and he said it often helped him to write down the list of things that he's grateful for, that God has done for him or God has brought him through. And I thought it was such a great idea that I decided to do my own gratitude list, and I encouraged other saints to do the same. And it was interesting because, out of the whole group, only two had a gratitude list, had things that they were grateful for. And the others were sort of still complaining about things that were wrong. Now, this isn't to criticize anybody. It's just as an example. And it got me thinking that when do we ever sit down and just look at the things that God has done for us and be grateful for what he has done for us, things that he's taken us through and what he's shown us. And, I'm guilty of this. I have been guilty of this myself in the past, of constantly just maybe looking at, the circumstance that I'm in and the things that I'm going through. And many times God has taken me back, almost like he's taken me on a trip down memory lane to remind me almost of all the times when he did come through, all the times when he did speak to me, all the times when, my prayers had been answered. And even up until the other day, when I looked around, I was sitting on the beach with my children, and it's like God took me back in time to a place where all the things that I have now were all the things that I'd been praying for many, many years ago. There was many earnest prayers, asking for, the right partner, to be married, to have more children and all that sort of stuff, and to own my own house and all that sort of stuff. And I looked around and I thought, my goodness, all the things that I see around me now, all the things that I've got, the house that I'm living in, the children that I've got, etc., is everything that I prayed for years and years and years ago, day after day. Now I'm actually living in the things that God has given me, that God has blessed me with. And so I was just so grateful, I had to look up and say, God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the times that you've brought me through, all the times that you've led me through the darkness, all the time that you've answered my prayers. And, that day I couldn't stop smiling because I was even, there was a few issues that day as well, a few unexpected letters through the post and things like that. But, the devil tried to knock me off my seat, as it were, and tried to put me in the seat of feeling low in my spirit and all the rest of it. But God took me back and said, look at this, look at that, look at this. And it was powerful. So, and it reminds me also of, the people in the book of, I think it is Exodus, where, at every time they stopped, they would move along. And every time they stopped, they started complaining, about the fact that they had no meat, the fact that they had no bread, regardless of what God had taken them through, regardless of how God had walked them through and taken them away from the things in Egypt and brought them through, they were still complaining. They couldn't look back and see that, you know, all the things that God had brought them from, all the things that God had rescued them from, they were still complaining. And it was like God got fed up and thought, you know what, I'm going to do away with you because you're quite frankly getting on my nerves. It was almost as if God had become fed up of their complaining. And instead of them looking at looking at where God had brought them from, they were so busy looking at their present circumstance, what they didn't have, that they forgot to look at what God had given them and what God had brought them through. And I think it was in Exodus 16 verse 3 where they were complaining, another example of, they were complaining of the meat, complaining that, you know, how is it that God's brought us into this place for us to die? We've got no meat, we've got no food. It's almost like God's brought us here just to die. And it was such an attitude of ungratefulness, rather than looking at the fact that God had brought them through and allowed them to escape the slavery and the ill treatment that they were suffering before they had left Egypt. God had brought them out of that. But it was in that moment they were complaining. So it just got me thinking that, do we sometimes do we put all our attention and time when a situation comes up? Do we put all our time and attention into that situation, pouring our spirit into what's happening now, rather than looking at, you know, all the times that God has brought us through? And are we comforted by those things? Gratitude, you know, just to look at where God has brought us from. If he's done it again, if he's done it in the past, won't he do it again? Amen. So I urge you, maybe when you've got time, to make time to sit down and make a gratitude list. Make a list of all the things that you are grateful for. Doesn't matter what situation you're in right now. Write a gratitude list of things that you are grateful for, and maybe pin it somewhere where you can see it daily, on, you know, on your cupboard, on your fridge, wherever you're going to see it. And anytime you feel down in spirit or weary, take a look at that gratitude list that you've written. There must be at least 2 or 3 things that you've got to be grateful for. In fact, I guarantee there's 2 or 3 things at the very least, that you've got to be grateful for. Firstly, that you're here, living and breathing. That's the first one. That's a start. And, you know, it will change your perspective, because I read my list and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, wow, God's brought me through a mighty long way. God's brought me through so much things, and he's done so much. So I need to look back on that list whenever something happens to knock me off my seat, when the devil tries to kick me off and take me off of that seat. I need to just reclaim back my throne, throw on my crown, and show him who he's dealing with. Yes, show him who he's dealing with, because the devil cannot hold me down for too long, and the devil shouldn't be able to hold you down for long. Take your pen, take your paper, write a gratitude list and pin it somewhere. And I promise you, it will change your perspective on a lot of things. I'm not saying you can't be down about things. I'm not saying you can't, you know, feel a way about a situation. But don't you make the devil keep you there. Don't you make the devil make you wallow in this pity party that sometimes we can put ourselves in. Write your gratitude list and have it in a place, and add to it anytime something good happens, no matter how small you might think it is. Add it to your list and see where it takes you. God bless you, brothers and sisters in the Lord. Whatever you're doing, I pray that God blesses you. And as Sister Mary says, I pray that he fills your cup full of joy. And God willing, I'll make another video. God bless you. Bye for now.